The UN says its new report finds clear and convincing evidence that Israeli hostages being held in Gaza have been subjected to sexual violence. The findings are the result of a 2.5-week visit to Israel and the West Bank by the special representative to the Secretary General on sexual violence and conflict. This as ceasefire talks have stalled just days before the start of Ramadan. Foreign correspondent Tom Burridge joins me now from Tel Aviv, Israel, with more on that. Tom, let's start with this new UN report that found hostages being held in Gaza have been subjected to sexual violence. What more do you know about these findings, and how is Israel responding?
Well, Diane, the Israeli government has welcomed the fact that a United Nations commissioned investigation has definitively recognized that these types of crimes of a sexual nature were committed by Hamas and other affiliated extremist groups, widespread, really, on October the 7th, and against hostages being held in the Gaza Strip since then, and Israel believes still, it alleges, against hostages being held today. At the same time, the Israeli government has criticised, well before this report was published, the United Nations for being slow to recognise that crimes of a sexual nature were committed on October the 7th. And the Israelis are still calling for the United Nations Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, for a more robust response from him to this report. The Israelis would like there to be a session of the United Nations Security Council to discuss the matter.
Now, Tom, Hamas says Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu doesn't want to reach a ceasefire agreement and that the ball is now in America's court to press him for a deal. So now what?
Well, the clock is ticking, Diane. I mean, look, Ramadan begins the end of this weekend, so we've got sort of more or less 5 days to get a deal. Negotiating teams, Hamas has been in negotiations with the mediators, Egypt and Qatar in Cairo. Those talks have finished. The Israelis did not send their negotiating team to that round of negotiations. The mood music doesn't look great at the moment. That's really, I think, what we're picking up. I mean, the United States is saying that there is a deal potentially on the table which the Israelis have more or less accepted. It could be a 6-week ceasefire, 40 hostages out, maybe sort of 400 Palestinian prisoners released. The United States government is still saying that the ball is in Hamas's court right now, but we're not seeing any sign from Hamas that they're willing to accept exactly those terms. And I think there are some really complicated issues out there right now. I mean, from Israeli officials, we're learning that Israel still is not sure about a definitive list of hostages which are potentially still alive. It needs that information clearly from Hamas if it's going to agree to an exchange of hostages for prisoners. And then you get into the complexities of what types of hostages, what types of prisoners. So it's a very complicated negotiation. The omens are not great now.
Now, Tom, we're learning Secretary Lloyd Austin will meet with Israeli War Cabinet member Benny Gantz today. What can you expect from that meeting?
Well, Benny Gantz is a rival of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He's in the war cabinet. He's been in it since October the 7th. I mean, he is the type of Israeli politician that the Biden administration can more easily do deals with and talk to. He's of a more similar, I think, political persuasion. And it's true, like we heard it from John Kirby yesterday, the White House's national security spokesperson, saying that some obstacles for a deal, for a ceasefire, are potentially more hard-line elements within the Israeli government. Diane?
All right, foreign correspondent Tom Burridge in Tel Aviv, thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.